Hey guys, welcome to Shoulder Serum Level 1. This will be part of my progression series. So I'm really excited to start giving classes in varying levels. So level 1, 2, or 3, all based around the LYT method. So Laura Hyman, my teacher out of Princeton, New Jersey, she's also a physical therapist, has developed this amazing method of yoga to educate and help people get strong and more aware in their bodies. So with that being said, this is Shoulder Serum Level 1. This is for any body, all levels. So we're going to start with blocks. So definitely have one, ideally 2 yoga blocks with you. If you have at least one yoga block, you'll need one other item, maybe a pillow or like a little blow-up ball, or even just like a towel rolled up. So let's get started. So coming onto your seat, you're going to take your yoga block and place it the horizontal way on a medium height. And we're going to take your shoulder blades and lay them down right on the block. Support your head with your hands and hug the elbows in a little bit so that the shoulders don't just go wonky here and splay out, but you have some activity feeling the arm bones into the shoulder socket. If this is not working for your shoulders, you can also take it the vertical way along your spine between your shoulder blades, if that one wasn't really working for your body. So we've got 2 options there, horizontal or vertical, under the shoulder blades or between the shoulder blades. We're supporting our head with our hands. The feet are on the floor. You can start to widen your elbows a bit, still supporting the head, breathing here. And we're going to add some lateral flexion, so a little side bending here. So right now we'll focus on the right elbow, kind of reaching behind you. So you're lengthening that right side and kind of cinching the left side. And then coming back through center. And then the left elbow kind of reaches back and you're spreading along the left rib cage, that whole left flank, breathing. And coming back to center. And you can just do that a few more times. Still supporting the weight of your head, letting the chin not jet up, but instead hugging it towards the front of the throat. Keep breathing nice and big. Good. Find some stillness. Take 2 more breaths here, letting the chest open. It's up to you how you want to dismount. You could roll off, or you can use your core, put your elbows down, support yourself coming back up, and move the block out of the way. And then come all the way down onto your back. Just feeling kind of the difference here now, lying flat, chest spreading, arms down at your sides. Just breathing a little bigger here. And then bring your awareness to your triple S. The triple S is a great way to make sure that your spine, your pelvis are all lined up in a neutral position. So the first S is the sacrum at the base of the spine. So you could gently rock side to side a little bit with your hips and knees and just find that kind of flat feeling bone at the base of your spine. That's your sacrum, and you want to feel that pressing down into the floor. Feel that your shoulder blades are also rooting into the floor and the back of your skull. So that's your sacrum, your shoulder blades or scapula, and your skull all on the same plane, allowing for your neutral curves in your low back and your cervical spine, your neck. So we're going to keep that in our mind as we move through our practice. If you know you have your triple S, your neutral pelvis and neutral spine set up, then everything else has a really great chance of falling into an optimal position. So moving right right along, we're going to continue to work on our neutral pelvis by coming into a supported bridge. This is where I'd like you to have your 2 blocks. At the very least, you'll have 1 block underneath your sacrum. So feet are on the floor, the heels of the feet are underneath the knees, or even forward of the knees, especially if you have any knee issues. Press into your feet just enough to slide the block, either the low or medium height, underneath your sacrum. And you want to make sure that your butt flesh is hanging off the front of your sacrum. So if you're on your tailbone, you're a little too low, and if you're on your low back, you're too high. So the sacrum is between your low back and your butt. So feel that supported by the block, and then take the other block or the towel, the pillow, whatever you may be using, and put it between your thighs and give it a hug, a squeeze in. Good. And then feel here that your glutes are starting to light up. So when you turn your glutes on, when you fire them up, and you can poke your butt to make sure that that's happening, it's almost like they're wrapping down towards the back of your knees. You're going to feel everything with that activation of the glutes, everything around the pelvis starts to kind of hug in, supporting that neutral pelvis. Now press into your feet a little bit more, enough that you can lift the pressure off the block and slide the block out from underneath you, keeping everything else the same. If you're feeling any crunching in your low back, come down a little lower and reach your tailbone towards your heels. Take your arms straight up. Feel your shoulder blades, so your mind's eye is connected to those shoulder blades, pressing down into the floor. The weight of your arms is helping to press them down. Take a breath in, keep squeezing the block, and then exhale. As you exhale, reach your fingertips higher towards the ceiling. Your shoulder blades move away from one another, that shoulder protraction, and then let them settle back down towards the floor to a neutral position. And then do that again. Reach the fingertips higher and then lower down. So keep doing that with your arms, not letting anything else change, staying rigid with the core and the pelvis, everything hugging in and vacuum sealing around that. Breathing. Keep squeezing the block. Let the heat, the sensation build in your glutes. Good, one more reach, squeezing the block. Let them settle, let your arms come down to your sides, and then keep reaching the tailbone towards the heels, pulling the belly in, slowly lower your spine down onto the floor. You can remove the block and just let the knees knock in towards one another. Take the feet a little wider. And then take your arms up again, flex your wrists like you could hold a tray. And then take your left hand, pull the 4 fingers of your right hand down towards your face. Keep your right arm straight. So we're opening up into the wrist and the forearm, breathing here, even letting your right thumb kind of reach over to the left. Take it out your mouth. Good, and then switch. Flex your left wrist, pull the fingers down towards your face. Most excellent. Good. And then we're going to come onto our core now. So you're going to take that block and you're going to put it between your knees. So you have an option here. You can have the block between your knees and keep your feet on the floor. If you're new to this style, you might want to start with your feet on the floor just to check it out. If you have an idea where we're going, you might lift your feet up. That's going to be a little bit more challenge. So again, feet down, feet up. Both are great options. So you decide. The block is between the knees, the skinny way. Hands come behind your head. Take an inhale here. You feel the weight of your legs pressing that sacrum down. And then as you exhale, hugs in around the ribs, lift the shoulder blades off the floor. You're gazing at your thighs. Pulling the low belly, the low ribs down and in, holding your breath out, and then inhale, lower your shoulders down. Exhale, lift. Reach your right arm up. Reach a little higher like we did before, protracting your right scapula. Hand comes behind the head, inhale and lower. Keep squeezing the block. Exhale and lift. Reach your left arm up. Reach a little higher. Hand behind the head, inhale and lower. Exhale and lift. Same thing, right hand reaches. Reach a little higher from the shoulder blades, sliding away from the spine. And then pull the right elbow down towards the floor. Press the elbow into the floor, feel your right shoulder blade hug into the spine. Reach it back up, hand behind the head, inhale and lower. Exhale and lift. Reach your left arm up, left shoulder blade protracts, reach higher. Keep everything pulling down in the belly, let the left elbow come down to press into the floor, the left shoulder blade hugs in. Reach it back up, hand behind the head, inhale and lower. One more on each side. Exhale, lift up. Everything around the ribs, the low belly hugging in. Right arm reaches up, reach higher. Pull the right elbow down into the floor, and then a baby micro lift of your tailbone. Tiny lift of the tailbone, low belly lit up. Reach the right arm up, hand behind the head, inhale and lower. Exhale, keep squeezing the block. Last one, lift. Left arm reaches, reach higher. Pull your left elbow down to the floor, lift the tailbone. Reach it back up, hand behind the head, and release. Nice. Let that really fill up your body, that sensation, that work, going from a boil to a simmer. And then you can rock and roll, or you can just push yourself off to the side. So we always want to start our practice lighting up the muscles that are closest to our body, like our glutes and our core. That way the rest of our body has more energy, more alignment, more integration to move in bigger ways, which we will do now. So coming into quadruped, the hands are right underneath the shoulders, and the knees are right underneath the hips. Get my hair out of the way here. And then we're going to do some serratus puffs. So the serratus anterior is this muscle that joins your back to your front. It's right underneath your armpit. It's also known as the boxer muscle, and that's what we've been working when we reach our arm forward and back. So if you put one hand under your arm and you do that punching motion, you should feel the serratus here. So that's what we're targeting on our hands and knees. Feel the chin, the front of the throat lifting up, so you've even got your triple S here. And then whenever you're on your hands, you want to think of spinning them out, like if your hands were on paper plates and you could just spin them out, but they're not going to go anywhere actually. So it's an isometric movement where something's happening but you don't necessarily see it. So you're dialing your hands out, biceps come forward, triceps roll back. And then hugging the shoulder blades onto the back ribs. Keep the belly pulled up. Drop the chest towards the floor, shoulder blades retract together. And then puff up between the shoulder blades. Settle them back down onto the back ribs, push the floor away, and puff up between the shoulders. Do it again, settle back into neutral, not letting your belly drop, and then puff up, lift your chest, your sternum up towards your upper back. Do that again, feeling that serratus working, puff up. One more time. Good, and then come back to a neutral position. Feel your shoulder blades hugged onto the back ribs. So they're not squeezing together, they're not pushing apart, but they're nice and in a neutral position. Good, and then hover your knees off the floor. Feel how much weight is in your hands. Don't let that change as you lift the hips up for down dog. lifting from the pit of your belly, not sinking in your shoulders, but keeping the integration of your arm bone into the shoulder joint. Relax your head, again, pull the chin towards the front of the throat. You can have a bend in your knees and you can be very high on your toes. You want to feel that your pelvis, your hips are the apex of the pose up there. And then breathe. Keep your arms strong and straight. And then walk your hands back to your feet, sitting into your hips. So hinging into your hip creases, sitting back into your butt, your glutes catch your weight. You inhale, reach the arms forward and then up. Exhale, the hands come down through heart center. Good. And you'll just take a cool walk to the top of your mat. And we'll continue to move a little bigger. Feet underneath your hips. You've got your triple S, your sacrum, your scapula, and your skull. So we might all just be pulling our head back a bit on top of our spine, since so much of us are dealing with this kind of rounded forward head position, myself definitely included. You can have just a tiny little bend in your knees, reach the arms forward and up. Exhale, sit back into these hips so that the creases deepen as you sit back. Hands come down underneath your shoulders. Step your right foot back. Drop your right knee. Untuck the toes and lift yourself up. So this is a 90-90 low lunge. We're not trying to sink forward. We're staying lifted, shoulders over our pelvis. Right glute, poke it. Make sure it's on. It's working. That way the front of the hip can get some space. Energetically pull your front foot and your back knee in towards each other. And then shoulder roll. I want you to really think about this movement originating from your scapula, from your shoulder blades. So you're going up, back, and down, one at a time with your shoulders. Feeling this kind of scrub of the scapula as it goes down your back ribs. Good, and then inhale, reach, arms forward and up, not popping your ribs forward. And then exhale, hands come down, step yourself back, down dog. Your right foot steps as far forward as you can get it. You can always use your right hand to get it further up. Drop your back knee, untuck your back toes, and lift yourself up. Same thing here, back knee and front foot hug in towards each other. Your left glute is super on. You can poke it and give it some feedback to make sure. Head on top of shoulders, shoulders on top of pelvis, and shoulder roll. Breathe. Good. Inhale, reach forward and up without letting your ribs pop. Exhale, hands come down. Step your back foot forward. Sit down into your hips. Inhale, reach forward and then up. And right back into it, hinging into your hips. Exhale, hands come down under your shoulders. This time the left foot steps back. Drop the back knee, but not the toes. So keep the toes tucked if you can and lift yourself up. You want to push into those toes, opening up the bottom of the foot. Feel like it's pushing your knee forward and then you're taking that energy up your thigh bone. So it's almost like knee forward, thigh bone up and back. And then grab for your block and take it behind you, keeping that left glute firm. Try and pull the block apart. Again, we never want to be compensating by popping our ribs forward. We want to find the integration of our shoulders, opening up our chest, ribs stay on top of pelvis, breathing. One more breath in. And exhale, set the block down, hands come underneath the shoulders, down dog. On your next exhale, step your left foot forward, drop your back knee, keeping those right toes tucked if you can, lift yourself up. So you're pushing into those back toes, kind of pushing the knee forward and taking that up the thigh. Keep your right glute strong, and then pull the block apart behind you without letting your front ribs push forward. Breathe. Feel those scapulas, the shoulder blades hugging in. One more breath in. And exhale. Block comes down, hands come under the shoulders, step your back foot to meet your front. Sitting back into those hip creases, inhale, reach forward and up. Exhale, right back into the next flow, hinging into the hips. So you can even put your fingers in the hip creases, and as you sit back, you're going to be smushing them more and more. Hands come underneath you, and step your right foot back for a fingertip lunge. So the hands will walk back so they're on fingertips underneath your shoulders. Now, if the floor feels far away, this is why we have blocks. They are tools to bring the floor closer to us. So you can always have blocks under your hands. You could be on fingertips. What I want you to realize is what your spine is doing. So if your spine is really rounding here to be able to touch the floor, get something under your hands so your spine can stay long. Now, keep that right glute super firm. Hug your inner thighs in towards each other, even though they're away from each other. Pull the low belly up, and then lift onto your fingertips, and then lift the fingertips a few inches off the floor. So shoulder blades hug together, and then they come back down to hover. Shoulder blades hug together, hands lift, and back down. Two more. Hug together, and fingertips lower to hover. One more time, hug together. And then drop your back knee for that low lunge, reach forward and up, and then goalpost your arms. So arms come into this cactus or goalpost shape. And then you can make fists for this one. And then you're gonna pull one elbow down and then the other. So we're going pulling shoulder blade in and down, and then the other. In and down. In and down, in and down. So this is shoulder blade retraction and depression. In and down. Ribs are not pushing forward. Right glute is still on. In and down, in and down. One more time. And then arms come down. Inhale, forward and up. And then exhale, hands come underneath the shoulders and step yourself back for a kneeling plank. So dropping your knees down. Keeping the hands dialing out, lifting the chin up to the front of the throat, lifting the belly up to the low back. Squeeze an imaginary block between your thighs. So remember, we want everything stable around the core and the pelvis. And then as you're dialing your hands out, just bend your elbows. Come down very rigid. Untuck your toes. Press the hip points and the pubic bone down into the floor. Feel your glutes turn on a little bit and your low back get longer. Pull the hands back energetically. So again, they won't actually move, but that pull back helps you lift the heart. Exhale, come down. And then downward facing dog. Your next exhale, bend your knees. Push from one foot and then the other. Step forward to the top of your mat. Sit back into your hips. Inhale, forward and up. Right back into the other side. Exhale. Hands come down. Step your left foot back. So you're on a fingertip lunge here. Again, you can always have the blocks underneath your shoulders. Keeping your left glute firm, pulling your belly up, not rounding, but keeping the spine long. Chin lifting, and then shoulder blades pull together, fingertips get higher, and they lower a few inches back down. Squeeze the shoulder blades together, and then lower. Squeeze, and lower. So just in the shoulders is the movement happening. And lower, one more. And then drop your back knee, reach forward and up and into your goalpost with fists. Keeping your left glute on and keeping the head over the shoulders. Pull down, pull down. Shoulder blade comes in and down towards the spine. One at a time. Keep some activity, some tension in your arms. Keep pulling the low belly in, pushing from those back toes. Good. Arms come down, inhale forward and up. Exhale, hands come down. Step yourself back to your kneeling plank. Squeeze the imaginary block, pull the belly up, dial the hands out, bend the elbows. Come all the way down. Locust pose with goalpost arms. So the arms come out, elbows in line with your shoulders. You're going to keep the forehead on the floor. Press the pubic bone down and lift the arms. So shoulder blades are hugging in. Keeping the forehead down, keep pressing the pubic bone down. And then release. Hands come underneath the shoulders, tuck the toes. Downward facing dog. I'm going to do something called turbo dog here. So really lighting up the shoulders. I want you to bend your elbows 25 to 50%. And then hug the elbows in towards one another. Press the root of your index fingers down into the floor. Relax your head. Keep the low ribs and the low belly pulling up. This should be a shaky dog. You should feel lots of activity around your shoulders. 2 more breaths. Good, and then straighten 98%. That last 2%, lift the front hip points up. So from your low belly, lift a little higher with the pelvis. Good, and then shift forward, drop your knees down. Sit your hips back towards your heels. Let your forehead come onto the floor. Press the hands together. You can walk the elbows in a little bit, and then the thumbs can drift towards the nape of the neck. Breathe. Breathe into all those spaces you were just so actively working. Really nice. Good. And then we're going to come back around onto our backs. And then just bring your right foot down onto the floor and take your left ankle onto your right thigh. You can stay right here if this feels like a nice passive opening in your left hip. But do connect your mind's eye again to your sacrum and feel that pushing down into the floor. If you'd like a little more, you can lift your right foot up off the floor. Try and pull your right thigh to the right and your left thigh to the left. So it's like you're trying to pull your legs apart from one another, but don't let them actually separate. So you should feel this active opening in your left hip socket, your left hip joint. Breathe here. If you'd like to take it further, you can interlace the hands behind the thigh. I don't want you lifting up off the sacrum. I want that to stay on the floor. So however far you can pull your thigh in without the sacrum lifting. The left elbow can stay as a little buttress to keep that left thigh away from you, and you have the option to also straighten your right leg. You can put some flexion in your ankle, spreading through the toes, breathing here. Take another breath. Good, and then set that foot down, and the other. Take your right ankle, crossing it over your left thigh. You can stay right here in this more passive opening, or come along, lifting your left foot, energetically trying to take your legs away from each other, so spreading them apart. Option 2, take your hands behind your left thigh, buttressing your right thigh away from you with your right elbow. Option to straighten your left leg any amount. Some space in your left ankle, toes, the foot. Good, and then left foot down and right foot down. Take your feet mats width distance and let both knees fall to the right. As they fall to the right, press the inner edge of the left foot down into the floor, and again, wrap your left glute down towards your left, the back of the left knee. So feeling that left glute super active and just spreading the front of the hip. Breathing here. You can take your arms up overhead if you'd like to add a little bit more, grabbing your left wrist with your right hand and trying to pull that side longer. Breathing into that whole left flank of your body. Good, and then arms soften, knees come up through center, taking it to the other side. Knees fall to the left. The inside of the right foot pushes down into the floor, engaging your right glute, wrapping it down towards the back of the knee, spreading the front of the hip. Maybe taking your arms into a goalpost, or if you took that other option before, reaching the arms more overhead, grabbing the right wrist with the left hand and pulling long. Still hugging your low belly in, still wrapping your right glute down. Breathe into the right side. And then soften everything. Let your knees come back up to center. Knees knock in. Hands come onto your belly and onto the heart. So one hand on the belly, one hand on the heart. And just breathe. Moving into your Shavasana, you can take one leg, stretching out at a time. Take up some space with your arms. You can even have the arms out into more of a T shape, feeling kind of these sparky energies around your shoulders. Palms facing up. Take a big breath in. Hold it in. Open your mouth. Do it again. Fill up the whole torso. Hold it at the top. Let it go. Last one. Release all tension with this exhale. Let everything soften. Feel the weight of your arms, your shoulders sinking into the floor. Let the skin, all the tissues, muscles, bones, everything release. Soften your breath. And absorb your work for these last few minutes. You can stay right where you are. If you're ready to move on, you can start to wiggle fingers and toes. You can take a full body prostration, reaching overhead, spreading through fingers, through toes. And then hug the knees in towards the chest. You can push yourself off to the side or rock yourself up. Keep your eyes heavy or closed. Bring one hand onto your heart and the other on top. Connect to the space underneath your palms. Find some gratitude for your body, for your breath, for the ways it can move. And then press the hands together. Namaste. Thank you for joining me. I hope you are feeling a little more free, a little more lifted, a little lighter in your shoulders and in your body. And I hope to see you for level 2 of shoulder serum. Thank you.